Oh man, outer space. I could talk about space and the universe for ages. I'm not really too knowledgeable in the subject, I never studied it at school, but I have a severe affinity for the universe and the idea of the existence of extraterrestrial life, aliens and all that kind of stuff. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's ponder and question, theorise and research. And if you guys have been fans of the channel for a little while now, you'll probably know how this goes. So without further ado, this is the ultimate extraterrestrial iceberg explained. Also, before we get into this video, I was screaming a lot yesterday. I wonder why. So my voice is a bit dead right now. Apologies for that. But anyway, yeah, let's get into this iceberg. At the very tippity top of the iceberg, we have flying saucers, commonly referred to as UFOs or unidentified flying objects. Very basic stuff, things that everyone should know, especially if you've clicked on this video. You should probably know what a flying saucer is, but in case you don't, a flying saucer is what people think that aliens and extraterrestrial life fly around in, and for that reason, each year, especially in the USA, but also around the world, as we'll get into later in other countries, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of supposed flying saucer sightings. People think that they're seeing aliens fly around the night sky. Whether or not they're actually seeing them is another question, but that's what people claim, and we might get into a bit of that further down. The War of the Worlds is the second entry on our list today, and it was originally a science fiction novel written by H.G. Wells all the way back in 1897. That's how long we've been fascinated with the extraterrestrial, even longer, in fact. This is one of the first, but probably the most famous story of a conflict between the human race and an alien species, with the novel being extremely successful. It was so successful, in fact, that it spawned an infamous radio series back in the 1930s that was directed by Orson Welles, who also starred in the project. Orson Welles, of course, directed Citizen Kane, so that's a pretty big grab. However, that's not the most interesting thing about it, because this was actually infamous because many people that were listening to the broadcasts didn't actually know that the series was scripted. They thought that the world was actually being attacked by aliens, which caused mass panic all over the United States. From there, it led to a few movies, the most notable of which, or at least the one that you're most likely to have heard of, was Steven Spielberg's 2005 adaptation, which scared the crap out of me as a kid when I walked in on my dad watching it. It was very scary, from what I remember. We just have NASA up next on the list. It's just NASA. If you've been sleeping under a rock since Dwight D. Eisenhower's presidency, NASA stands for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and NASA's crown jewel was, I don't know, putting a man on the moon. From there, they have been the predominant space program in the world, the one that has helped us learn the most about the galaxy at least. I mean, this is all just well known and the most basic stuff. We need to move down the iceberg to get to the juicier stuff, so let's do just that. Alien abductions. We will zoom through this one because you've probably heard of it, but there are some people who claim that they were picked up by extraterrestrials on clear nights and subjected to experiments. It says here that the reports are most common in English-speaking countries, but especially the United States. I wonder why aliens like the USA so much. That's weird, isn't it? Most abductions follow the same procedure of capture, examination, experimentation, communication, often in the victim's native language, which is weird for a, for an alien to be speaking English, but whatever. This is followed by a tour of the vessel, an experience of time loss, and then the return to Earth with a few injuries and disheveled clothes. Finally, there is the feeling of oneness with God, the universe, or life itself. And actually, finally after that, we have the aftermath of the experience. The cigar-shaped craft. So we spoke about UFOs a minute ago. Well, the cigar-shaped craft is one of the more popular UFOs of recent years. Been given the name Oumuamua, the cigar-shaped craft was spotted in 2017 after entering our solar system. This object is thought to be about half a mile long and was picked up entering our solar system 4 years ago now, after its odd movement was detected. Many people thought that this was finally proof of alien life, but this was unfortunately quickly dismissed by scientists who concluded that the object was naturally made and had no evidence of inhabiting alien life, despite what we might think. Debunked, it's hard to say what this thing is. We've never seen anything like it, but scientists can say with confidence that this isn't anything to get too hyped about. The WOW signal was a strong narrowband radio signal received on the 15th of August 1977 by the Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Telescope in the United States of course, which back then was used to support the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The story goes that astronomer Jerry R. Ehrman discovered the anomaly a few days later while reviewing the recorded data. He was so impressed by the result that he circled the reading on his computer printout 6EQUJ5 and wrote the comment "wow" on its side, which led to the event's widely used name. However, again, don't get your hopes up that this is proof of alien life too soon, because whilst this was huge at the time, and despite efforts, nothing ever came from this. If someone did send us a message, they never followed it up, and so workers stopped trying to figure out what it means, who sent it, or where it came from. Right now we just think it's a little anomaly. The Travis Walton UFO incident was an alleged alien abduction of American forestry worker Travis Walton by a UFO on the 5th of November 1975. Now, compared to most, this one is very interesting because Travis Walton, if he was lying, was doing it very convincingly. He would have had to put all of his ships down because he was missing for a total of 5 days and 6 hours. Now, according to Walton, he went missing in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona. Apparently, this was whilst riding his truck with 6 of his co-workers, and they encountered a saucer-shaped object hovering around the ground. According to Walton, it made a high-pitched buzz. Walton then claimed that he was rendered unconscious after checking out the craft, and the other 6 men ran away. He claimed that he awoke in a hospital-like room being observed by 3 short and bold creatures. He says that he fought them until a human wearing a helmet led Walton to another room, where he blacked out as 3 other humans put a clear plastic mask over his face. Walton claims that he remembers nothing else about the incident until he found himself walking along the highway 5 days later, with the flying saucer departing above him. Did this happen, or was this just Walton lying? What was he doing for 5 days, if he was lying? Who were those 6 men? What are their stories? I'm sure it wasn't he just f***ed off for the weekend with his mates. That did not happen, I'm sure. And he just lied to the wife. He just went off to have a bit of a piss up with the old lads. So I might have ragged on America a little bit so far in this video. It always seems as though these sightings are reported in the USA, which is coincidental to say the least, but the Belgian UFO wave is in direct contrast to this idea. When you think of Belgium, what do you think of? Belgian chocolate, Belgian fries, tall people, being the cause of the United Kingdom getting involved in World War I? Well, in 1989 and 1990, it could have been for UFO sightings. In fact, many of our most famous pictures of UFOs come from Belgium around the time. Was there something in the water, perhaps? Most people put it down to mass hysteria in the area, which, by the way, is a killer lyric. Hysteria in the area. Someone needs to write that down. Someone needs to write a song about that. Anyways, where were we? Oh yeah, Belgium. They were known for aliens around that time, I guess. The Belgians are known for their rationality, I think at least, but the 90s were wild, so it's really anyone's guess. The Colares UFO attacks is an interesting little investigation that may or may not have happened all the way back in 1977 and 1978. This investigation was apparently led by the Brazilian Air Force after there were reports of UFO attacks in the city of Colares, which is located in the northeast of Brazil. Local residents, for some reason, had scars on their bodies, and they claimed these scars were caused by lights in the sky. The residents went on to name the scars Chupa Chupa, which directly translates to sucker sucker. Due to this, the mayor of the small town requested the Air Force to come help. You would think that if the mayor of all people is requesting help from the Air Force, their fears must have had some sort of a basis in reality, but after months of monitoring the situation, the Air Force didn't uncover any unusual phenomena and closed the case. The question remains, however, if there were no aliens, what happened to the citizens of Colares to result in them having scars? This isn't just some random nutjob, this was an entire town. Well, according to ufologist Jacques Vallée, a number of the individuals were reportedly killed as a result of these lights being fired up above them by UFOs, and the injuries were consistent with radiation effects from microwaves. Other ufologists claim that the lights from the UFOs sucked blood from more than 400 people. Could this have happened? Make up your own conclusions, even if it does sound like hokum, who could know for sure? The face on Mars. This is for sure an intriguing one. Fascinating for certain. Basically, it's referring to this little place on Mars called Cydonia, I think, and within Cydonia there are a few rocks and craters and stuff. One of those rocks is what people believe to be a face, which in fairness, yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem to be too far of a stretch. It does indeed look like a face. The image was first taken during the Viking 1 and 2 voyages, and this Cydonia facial pareidolia has inspired individuals and organisations to speculate about extraterrestrial intelligence and their potential visitations to Earth. Also, by the way, Cydonia pareidolia, another killer band name or song name, whatever you want to have, that one's on me, Cydonia pareidolia. But did some sort of life form find us and create a replica of our faces on Mars? Probably not, but who's to say? Sorry guys, I just need to adjust my tinfoil hat a second. There we go. Yeah, okay. That should be good. This could be proof of extraterrestrial life and all that kind of stuff. The Black Knight Satellite. Might I say once again, killer song name. Someone better be writing these down. Get your pen and paper out, alright? But anyways, the Black Knight Satellite is actually a conspiracy theory. The idea is that there's a spacecraft that's orbiting Earth that is of extraterrestrial origin. Now, according to NASA, what people have dubbed the Black Knight Satellite is actually space debris that was lost during a mission. This is what NASA has said, but it's not what many believe, as according to some UFO conspiracists, the Black Knight Satellite is actually an artificial satellite of extraterrestrial origin that has orbited the Earth for approximately 13,000 years. Could it be used to monitor us? Could it be used to mind control us? What does the government know about this, and what are we going to do about it? Do we need an uprising? Must those responsible for hiding this thing be publicly humiliated? Is it a thermal blanket? All very valid questions, each one more valid than the last. The 2004 Nimitz report. So I couldn't find any Wikipedia articles on this, which is interesting if you want to adjust your tinfoil hat again, but I was able to find a nice little short documentary style video on YouTube about it. And whilst I generally don't sort of trust these documentaries because they're narrated by a bunch of crazies, this one is a bit more, there's a bit more meat to this story. So take it back to 2004 and this USS Nimitz aircraft carrier that was stationed off the coast of San Diego caught this right here on tape. And so far, despite it being 17 years since the incident, we don't know what this is. What was up in the night sky that could be detected by a jet's radar system? This wasn't just some shaky camera from someone who's dedicated their life to finding Bigfoot and have found 4 pixels instead. This was someone that, you can't assume they went out looking for anything, but they captured something unexplainable on film. The guy who took this video later goes on to explain that he chased down the UFO, which is slightly harder to believe. I think that he implied that what was inside there wasn't biological. Whoever was inside the craft, it would have had to have been technology because of the speed in which it was going. He says it was going too fast. It's quite interesting, even if not all of it sounds legitimate, but a lot of it does sound like there might be some sort of bigger thing at play here. So who can really know? Who can really know? I'm doing Area 51 next because whilst the original iceberg is actually a bit lower than a few of these entries, I can't in good conscience put it any lower than this because it is relatively known about. An entire meme was centered around it back in 2019, but let's cut to the chase. Area 51 is famous for conspiracy theories because, located in Nevada, many people think that it's home to them aliens. Now, the government claims that Area 51 is just a highly classified Air Force base, but some people don't believe them. From hiding the secrets of extraterrestrial life to hiding the secrets of man landing on the moon, in those conspiracy theories, people think there's something up with Area 51. We don't know for certain what's within the confines of perhaps the most enigmatic place in the world, and the likelihood is that we might never know. You would think that because people know about Area 51 that they would move over whatever they have, but in all fairness, the base is one of the most heavily guarded places in the world. The guards shoot on sight, and I probably put this down to people's skepticism over the place. This is why people question whether the US government are lying to people, because this is why people might question if the US government are lying to people, because obviously no country want their secrets being leaked, but why is this place, Area 51, so heavily guarded in particular? What do they not want people to see? It's hard to say just because we don't know, but let's keep on creeping down the iceberg, shall we? Okay, Serpo is a bit wacky, and I kind of feel like I'm winding down some rabbit hole here. I don't know who thinks like this, but I'm beginning to get a little bit unsettled. So there's this star system not too far from our own called Zeta Reticuli. It's located 39 light years away. Remember that one, right? If you were to travel at the speed of light, it would take you 39 years to get there, or vice versa if you were travelling to Earth. Now, within the star system is apparently a planet called Serpo, and the idea is that Project Serpo is an alleged top-secret exchange program between the United States government and the planet of Serpo. Now, I don't know how this would work. The article that I'm reading on doesn't really provide many details. Firstly, who would want to go to planet Serpo? Secondly, even if they wanted to go, it's impossible to go faster than the speed of light, as we know, and even if you were to be able to match light speed, it would take you 39 years, and then you would be on planet Serpo, and that also implies that there are aliens from Serpo on Earth as well, and that's if I have interpreted this thing right. Utter twaddle, right? Utter twaddle. What's more of something to look at though, at least in my opinion, is that this Zeta Reticuli is home to many claims of alien life. Could there be something within the solar system, some extraterrestrial being that has stated where it lives in English or Spanish or French or Portuguese or whatever? Just think about it. Maybe. Maybe not. Probably not. Probably utter bullshit, but who knows? Mr. Bob Bigelow is a notable man. He is a businessman over in the USA, a very good businessman in fact, because his net worth is over $700 million. With this wealth, you could probably assume two things. Number one, that he's likely very intelligent. I would say that anyone that has amassed this sort of wealth has either A, been born into it, or B, is a very smart person because you have to be smart to earn it. Secondly, you would hope that he is a bit of a philanthropic person because no one needs $700 million, and he very well might be, but the things that he has put his money into isn't starving people in poor countries, but instead, he puts his money into trying to answer some of life's most difficult questions. One of which is the question of whether life exists outside our planet. He's been putting money into funding research and trying to uncover whether UFOs and aliens have been to our planet. And he's such a big fan of this in fact that in 1996, Bigelow purchased Skinwalker Ranch, a 480-acre cattle ranch located in Utah that some believe is the site of an interdimensional doorway used by alien shapeshifters. It was not. He wasted all of his money on that one, but sounds bonkers, but that's the thing. He's got so much money that if there's a sniff of paranormal activity, he'll just buy it up and try to get to the bottom of it. Some people might call this a waste of time and money, but Bob doesn't think so, and according to the New York Times, Bigelow said that he was absolutely convinced that aliens exist and have visited Earth. He's just taken it upon himself to try and find them, but has so far come up with no concrete evidence despite his suspicions. Aside from that, he puts a lot of money into space exploration projects. I think he was planning a space hotel by 2022 for like $5 million per a 3-night stay, but that doesn't really look likely. And he sued NASA for $1 million back in March of this year. Fascinating bloke. Celebrity sightings is one entry that I'm not 100% sure on what it means. I'm going to take this one by its literal definition and talk about celebrities that say they have seen aliens because there are quite a few. Miley Cyrus claims to have seen what she thought was an alien spacecraft in the night sky when she was out with her friends in San Bernardino, California a few years ago. She said, and I quote, "I did see a being sitting in the front of the flying object. It looked at me and we made direct eye contact. And I think that's what really shook me, looking into the eyes of something that I couldn't quite wrap my head around." She's joined by singer Alicia Keys, who is stated as saying that she believes aliens are all around us. Nick Jonas is a fellow believer who's gone on the record saying that when he was 14, he looked into the night sky and saw 3 flying saucers. Demi Lovato is a staunch believer, saying that not only does she think aliens exist, but she knows that they exist. She even went on Instagram to share a video of what she thought was a UFO. Obviously, Tom Cruise is also a believer. That is par for the course if you know about his religion. He'd need to believe in aliens. Kurt Russell, whilst he played a alien god in Guardians of the Galaxy, actually was one of the people to report the Phoenix Lights back in 1997, which was a huge alien kind of UFO conspiracy little thing. I'll just put a picture up now. And last but not least, we have Russell Crowe, who has shared footage of what he thought was a UFO, similar to Demi Lovato. It's a fun subject for sure, but if you've made it this far into the video, I'd be interested to know, do you believe in aliens, or have you seen what you thought was perhaps an alien or a UFO? Please let me know down in the comments. I myself believe in aliens. With the vastness of the universe, I think that aliens are essentially guaranteed, even if life spawns on 1 in a million planets. In the Milky Way alone, that would mean that there is at least 100,000 planets with life. Now, this is getting into the Fermi paradox, which I've spoken about in a previous video, so I'll play that clip again just so we can get a little refresher. Play it again, Sam, because this is the Fermi paradox. Simply put, the Fermi paradox is the "where them aliens at" paradox, which attempts to answer where them aliens at. Now, in our galaxy alone, there are billions of stars similar to the Sun, and many of these contain planets, and many of these planets could be considered habitable for life. Now, Earth itself is 4.54 billion years old, and many of these stars are a lot older than Earth, some by billions of years. Humans have only existed for 300,000 years, and we're beginning to make steps in colonizing our solar system, likely beginning space exploration in the next couple of hundred years, provided that we don't die out. Now, if some planets are billions of years older than us, you would think that the night sky would be lit aglow with spaceships, and space would be littered with signs of intelligent life. But look up to the sky. Especially those watching at night. Look up. Ain't no aliens up there. No UFOs going by. If all this is true, which it is, the Fermi paradox asks, where are the aliens at? Even if there is a 0.00001% chance of intelligent life forming, that's still millions of planets out there. Why have we not found any signs of alien life? So there are many explanations, some of them optimistic, some of them less so, and I won't be able to cover them all here, so I'm going to link Kurzgesagt's video on it. One theory is that there is a great filter, and for life to exist, it needs to pass the filter. Perhaps life itself is extremely, minusculely rare, and perhaps that life developing is extremely, minusculely rare. Perhaps in all cases life develops and it just blows itself up, or it depletes the world that it inhabits of its natural resources before it's able to explore the galaxy. Whatever it is, if you subscribe to the Great Filter theory, there's only a select few that can make it past this filter. If we made it past the filter, we might be one of the first species in the galaxy to do so, and therefore life is possible. If we haven't passed the Great Filter though, and it's instead in front of us, we are in big trouble. Another theory is that perhaps the universe has already been colonized by a superpower of species that has no feelings and just destroys planets when they're able to develop intelligent life. Perhaps space travel isn't simply possible and humanity should just pack it in. It takes too long to travel the universe and no amount of science can solve this. Maybe we're even the first in the universe to develop intelligent life. 300,000 years in the grand scheme of things is extremely quick, and maybe it just takes billions of years for intelligent life to spawn. Perhaps aliens are all around us, but we as a species don't understand. Maybe they're sending messages, but we just don't have the right technology to understand it. We use radio waves right now. Radio waves. I mean, if you're an alien species and you're more developed, you're not going to be using radio waves. They probably got their own way of sending messages, and it just goes over our heads. My personal favourite theory, however, is that aliens do exist, and they know that we're here, but they're waiting for us to get our act together before they come into contact with us. I mean, if humans are going to hate each other based on their colour or creed, how are they going to react when something of a literal different species comes into contact with us? Perhaps the only way we'll ever get aliens to talk to us is if we end all war, become a planet of peace, and develop enough technology to show that we're worth their time. There are so many possibilities we don't know, and the reason we haven't found aliens is unknown. Completely unknown. We have no idea. But yeah, aliens or no aliens, I'd love to hear your personal experiences down in the comments below. Reptilian overlords. So you've probably heard about this theory before. It's complete shite, but I'll give you a little rundown anyways. Some nutcases think that humans are controlled by an elite group of humanoid lizards that love the taste of human flesh. Now, is this true? No. Is it memed? Yes. Does anyone actually believe it? Like, for real, do people actually believe that this is a thing? If you do, please state your argument as well as your insults for me down in the comments below, because there has to be some sort of gap in logic and reason, right? I mean, I get that these days we have to pick the truth that we believe in, but come on. You have to believe this is a bit far-fetched, right? This is a bit far-fetched. Also, based on this picture in Wikipedia, first of all, the alien looks oddly phallic. He looks like a penis, alright, just gonna put that out there. And I'm going to add to this, he's that big and his Todge is that tiny. I mean, I'm not going to dignify this mental belief with anything else. Let's just carry on. The Dogon are an ethnic group indigenous to the Central Plateau region of Mali in West Africa. The population of this tribe is somewhere between 400,000 and 800,000, and they are best known for their religious traditions, their mass dances, their wooden sculptures, and their architecture. However, something that's only slightly less well known is that many people believe that the Dogon are proof that aliens have come to Earth and interacted with humans. The belief started with the French anthropologist Marcel Griol, and since then, several authors have claimed that the Dogon religion incorporates details about extrasolar astronomical bodies that must have come from somewhere. The idea has entered the New Age and ancient astronaut literature as evidence that extraterrestrial aliens have visited Mali in the past. Ancient astronaut, if you don't know, is the belief that humans have perhaps been to space in historic times or have come to Earth from a different destroyed planet and have had to rebuild civilization, or aliens have come down to us. That kind of stuff, how built the pyramids and that This is, in fairness, a fascinating theory. Anyways, based on what they do and what they know about the universe, predates what they should have known at the time, and there isn't much of an explanation of how they knew it at the time that they did. They have a celebration once every 60 years called the Sigui Festival that allegedly does and always has celebrated the white dwarf Sirius B. Here's the thing though, the tribe has been around for 1,000 years. If they have celebrated this tradition for all of their existence, the question remains, how did they know about the existence of Sirius B, which wouldn't be discovered by the rest of the world until 1862? Spooky! Of course, they could be lying, or they could be telling the truth. Whether or not they've deceived the world is yet to be known. The jury is still out on this one. This has gotten a bit occultist, because I want to talk about the Great White Brotherhood, and no, it's not the one you're thinking of. This one was created many years ago and contains some of the most spiritually fulfilled beings on Earth, many of them witches. Additionally, whilst it's called a brotherhood, women are allowed in the club too. The members of the brotherhood may be known as the Masters of Ancient Wisdom, the Ascended Masters, the Church Invisible, or simply as the Hierarchy. However, for as much as we know about what this group is, or at the very least, the criteria that needs to be fulfilled to join, which is inherently not very much, we don't know much past that. We don't know how you'd apply to join, we don't know how many members there are exactly, how many there were, or even if it's still a thing today. I think that all of the members, at least all the ones that have Wikipedia pages, are all dead. So if you're interested in finding out more about the secret society, I'll link the article that I found in the description. Who built the moon? Honestly, I have no idea what this entry is on about. I've googled it till my fingers got sore, and perhaps I haven't been looking in the right place, but I don't know. I can only find an album from Noel Gallagher. If you could potentially know what this is getting at, please let me know down in the comments below, please. The same thing is going to be said for basically all of these on the lowest tier. I truly apologise because I have no idea what most of, if not all of these are. I mean, how am I meant to research teeming? Or water? I can't research that. I'd have no idea where to start. However, there is one entry I'd like to talk about, and it's the last one I'll go for, and that is nothing. And I'll interpret that as if there is no alien life. I've said before that the vastness of the universe dictates that aliens can and probably do exist, but what if we doubt that for a second? What if instead of aliens being a 1 in a million likelihood, it's like a 1 in a trillion? Perhaps the universe is cold and empty, devoid of complex life. That we've passed through this great filter and we have formed complex and, quote, intelligent life. People, for as far as we know, we are it. This is all of the known life in the universe, and we're one slip of a finger away, or one bad day at the office from a country with nuclear weapons to draw the curtain on humanity. Take a bow, because there will be no encore, and there will be no one to clap you off stage. We have two paths forward from here. One is that humanity remains a stupid race of selfish, entitled, and ignorant people who care more about land, riches, and their own power than the health and safety of the people in which they govern. And the other is a prosperous and intelligent species that is able to settle their differences, building with others to eventually, one day in the distant future, get in a rocket ship and begin to colonize the galaxy. I know which side I'd rather be on, and I'm sure you do too. If we fluff our lines here, our incredibly fragile lives are at stake, the only ones that we know about in the entire universe. Our lives are so incredibly, undeniably valuable. Please remember that. Please remember that your life is undeniably valuable. They are the only lives that we know about in the entire universe that know anything of real intrinsic worth. But we cannot progress if we fuck this up. We need a brighter and safer tomorrow, and it all begins with a single person's progress. If people look back at us in 1,000 years and go, yeah, I mean, they got it wrong sometimes, but we are here, then we would have done alright. Because the only way that our great-grandkids will be able to know about what we did correctly is if they're born at all. So please, don't take your life for granted, because as far as we know, we are it. It's crunch time. Pick a path. And that is it from me. I want to apologise again for my voice. I was shouting and raving a lot yesterday, and it's a bit croaky. But anyways, I wanted to thank you for watching this video, and if it isn't too much trouble, if you enjoyed this, would you mind subscribing? I have many videos just like this one, so go check them out. Follow me on all of my socials, that is Twitter, Instagram and Twitch. Join the Fox Akimbo Discord, all of the links for which will be in the description. Shout out to my patrons Cage101 and Chris M. You guys are the best. Also, shout out to the creator of the iceberg that I've sampled today. That is Thunderstorm Tipsel, so shout out to you, Mr. Tipsel. If you'd like to be shouted out, send iceberg charts that you've made to foxakimbo@gmail.com for a chance to be featured in a video. And finally, let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see me do next, as I'm only 58 videos in, and I'm already out of ideas. Thank you for watching.